rundown on this drawing, which is of Gwynevere Keitharisa, my first Dungeons & Dragons character. She's a tiefling and a bard. So here I started off by taking a selfie of my face. Yes, I'm in bed and I look semi-horrible, but I broke it down into some proportions so I could try to manipulate that on the face of my character, because my character is meant to resemble me in a sense that I don't usually have, most of my characters do. So to achieve that and wanting to give her my look, that's kind of what I had to do, but the angle of the face also kind of interferes with that. I was thinking up some poses, and because she's a bard, she doesn't exactly hold any weaponry at hand. So yeah, I kind of gave her like that hand position, and I had to enlarge it. I was fixing up proportions later on. You'll see some parts of my drawing suddenly shrink and then expand, and that's just because I'm kind of playing around with how I want my character to look, and the hair is there to kind of show me what direction I want the wind force to go through and how I would want to guide her hair later on, to keep that in mind as I draw the pose. I was really conflicted in how I wanted her face. I don't really know why. I guess artists just get self-conscious when they're drawing themselves. I mean, at least I do. Because you want to capture you. You feel like you're capturing another person in the drawing, and that's not exactly what you're going for. So, yeah. I mean, in this drawing I didn't have very clear what I exactly wanted her to wear, and you'll see me play around with colors later on. So I kind of am drawing a naked body, if you want me to be legitimately honest with you. But that will soon be layered on with clothing and whatnot. Toes, feet, that's like one of the hardest things for me to draw. As you saw previously, I was really messing around with the foot in the back layer, like way in the back. I didn't really know how to pose that, so I found it more convenient to kind of hide it behind the other leg, and it would give it more space, like it would give me more space to play around with the shape of the tail. By now I have added my glasses, even though it's medieval time. I mean, if you wanted to be really professional, I guess you could somehow get someone to make you those. I extended the torso a bit because I've been told that I have a really long torso. And I kept on going at it. I had readjusted the ears, and right now I'm drawing in gauntlets and a scarf that kind of hooks around her neck, but if someone were to pull at the ends of the scarf, no, it wouldn't choke her because it's directly attached to the vest that I just drew on. The clothing is drawn in green and the accessories are drawn in blue, but the fingernails are also drawn in green, just a little FYI. Behind her, she has this, it's an instrument called a hurdy-gurdy, and it's like a piano guitar. I really wanted to bring that out in a drawing, but I didn't see the space to do it, so I kind of left it hooked onto her back, because that's usually, when you first look at her, I guess that's what you'll see. She doesn't play the instrument all the time, so it kind of makes sense why it would be in the back. She has a set of bongos behind her right leg. Well, my right, her right leg. Those actually are not bongos. They're, those little drums there, they open up and they're almost as if a backpack, if you want to put it in a sense. She just she took the top and she remade it. So right now I'm drawing in like the details of the corset, and all of it is being done in like the really dark blue. I don't know, I felt like I didn't know what color palette she was gonna get in the end, so I thought dark blue would be a good place to start, even though I kind of didn't keep in mind the color of her skin that I had thought of. Tieflings, because they're kind of like little devil people, they will have redder skin, so it would have been more convenient if I made the outline a darker red, or at least a darker orange, but I went with dark blue anyways, I guess. It was an easy change later on in the process. So yeah, as you can see, I've been drawing in like the hooks on these gauntlets, and actually if you see those like strings around her horn, that's actually like a little bamboo flute that's tied to the back. Yeah, this girl, she carries like 5 instruments, but statistics and Dungeons and Dragons, I guess. I drew in the money pouch, but then I realized that it wasn't flowing in the same direction as the hair, so I had to redo it. because you have to follow the direction of the drawing. I usually map that out, but I didn't this time. And I also emphasized the direction of the wind through the pants because they're really baggy, so I made them go into a certain direction. Yeah. So then I filled this whole thing in with gray, and the reason I'm doing that is because when I select the gray, I can add another layer on top, and I can color however I want without going out of the lines. See, like the rainbow, it's easier. I'm literally going freestyle right there, not even caring about the lines, and the fact that I have the layer selected makes it a lot easier. Each of these colors are in a different layer, so I can take the layer and adjust the color balance. Now, here's where it gets really messy because this part did not record properly. But basically what I did, you see that gradient on the tail? Yeah, I kind of did that all over the body, and then I emphasized it into a little more, I made it a little more vibrant by messing around with the colors, with the effects icon, that it gives her more of a cherry look, and I guess more of her colors are balanced towards red, and that's kind of where I realized, oh yeah, shoot, I need the outline to be more geared towards red. I pull out this gray tone again, and I start drawing in the details for the gauntlets. Now, red and green are complementary colors. I didn't know if I wanted to stand that far on the spectrum, so I kind of dimmed it down into a little bit a bit more desaturated, so a little more geared toward gray and a little bit of blue because I definitely wanted blue. The scarf was orange, and I really, really, really wanted blue because I felt like that would, just little glints of blue would just give it a little life, because the pigments for her clothing are very restricted due to the time period, because Dungeons and Dragons is basically a medieval game, so there's that. I changed the color of the corset from white to brown, and that's also a reason why. It's time period wise and how much she could actually afford of this clothing. As you can tell with those patches on her pants, she's been out on her own for a very long time. I wanted the pants to be kind of funny looking. I later fixed this color, this minty green color, into a beige right there. But yeah, I don't want to take too many vibrant colors. I kind of want to desaturate a bit. I really like the color of the skin because it brings out that vibrantness, and I don't have to make up for it on the clothing. That patch that was going to be purple, I decided it to be a darker green, but then I thought it was too dark, so I lightened it a bit, made it a little bit more vibrant, and this is where I start adding shading. The shading is really messy. I did not restrict it to the gray tones, as you can tell by the scarf on her left hand. The shading is a little bit outward. It's really hard to follow the shading because I start really light on my shading and then I go pretty heavy. But you will see me occasionally just brush things away and then sudden addition because I'm messing around with it, I'm kind of testing the waters. Now, I wish from the beginning of the drawing I had probably made a gradient over it. So I made it the top left corner was a lighter gray in the gray tones than the bottom right corner. So I could take a little I could take a better view of the angle that I wanted the light to go in, but I didn't really have that in mind, so everything is pretty balanced out, which I later have to fix. As you can tell, that's shading emphasized, but I'm now playing with the opacity, so I take away the color completely to see how it's going. I play with the opacity. The opacity is how transparent a layer is, because this is all in one layer, and this is all being blended, so I can easily manipulate how strong I want them, and I can desaturate them in case they're too red and I think I should take it down a notch, because for drawings you shouldn't exactly always shade with black. Black is not always the most effective color, and you should never color with the darkest black on the color palette because you can't get darker than that. So this is a really, really dark red, the same type of red as the outline, which I found really, really cool, I went a long way with the neck, and now I'm shading in the ear. I had to adjust some of the shading on the left hand that you already see completely shaded because I felt like the palm, the part where the thumb just kind of makes that bump on your hand, was way too sharp. So before that, I actually had to fix that. Your shading can really mess around with how three-dimensional your drawing is in general, no matter what you do to it. You'll see me revert back and forth with color, grayscale, and then even turning the background gray. because you shouldn't exactly color in on white, because the color is always going to be stronger and you never know what your background color may be. So if it's too strong, then it'll just look straight up weird if you change it. You want more realistic colors. Nothing's going to be in straight out white unless you're taking a photo shoot of some industrial product. So it's best to work in gray. But for the sake of this, because you start with outlines, it's easier to just revert back to white. As you can see, there's like the hair behind her torso. That is very much darker because I want to emphasize that is way in the back. Same thing with the scarf on that side, on that right side. So yeah, I go back to grayscale, I go back out. The hurdy-gurdy is now shaded. The hurdy-gurdy actually doesn't need much shading, even though it's in the back. The light hits it the most compared to other parts of her body, so yeah. And the hair, I really wish I took more time on the hair. She has little red streaks in the hair, so if that's what you're kind of picking up on, like, oh wait, did she do lighting? No, it's just little red streaks of red. I actually have that in my own hair, so I thought it'd be a cool incorporation to add in, especially because of her species of character, which would be really cool, I felt. Yeah. Most of this is just shading. Oh, by the way, she has a little sun on her cheek. I didn't really explain that. It's not really a tattoo, it's more like something she paints on because it has a symbolism to her, which I'm not really willing to explain. But to do that, I outlined it really lightly compared to the other parts of her outline. And I did a harsh layer of green, but I just upend the opacity so it looks more transparent and it actually looks like there's skin under it. On her pants, you can see that I'm messing around with the shading. I didn't really know how I wanted to do that. You can draw as many wrinkles on clothing as you want when it comes to drawing, but those wrinkles will only be made valid until you shade them or do something with them to emphasize that they're there other than just outlining them. Your wrinkles could literally take any shape if you wanted them to, depending on how you play with your shading. So I was very careful of that, and especially that the fact that I had to make the leg in the back a little darker than the front one. Actually, later on in the drawing, I just gradient it regardless of the wrinkles, just like that right there. But then I lighten it, and I do a second layer, one that's more towards gray and one that's more towards color, so it just adds that balance. Yeah, there you go. And then I started adding highlights. I'm not used to adding highlights. This is like one of the first times I actually do. So I had a lot of fun with that, to be honest. I was messing around with it. I didn't really know where they should go, so I kind of had to experiment because this is the first drawing I actually did on my iPad Pro that I thought was really neat, you know? I also did the whole gradient thing as I did on the pants to the top of the body, so that's why you saw that suddenly go white in contrast. Now that layer is under the outline layer for a specific reason. I just didn't like how it looked before. So the fact that that's under gives the outline more like concreteness. The color of the outline itself won't change, which is why you also have to be very careful on how extreme your shading is, because if your shading is darker than the outline, it can look a little weird depending on the look that you're going for. I revert back to grayscale, and you'll see me do like these harsher highlights. They're almost like little outlines of white themselves. You can see that specifically on the tail as it pops up later on, because that on the tail it's gradient right now, but I'm pretty sure I go over it a little harsher. Also on the scarf, that's a big piece. The glasses, I wanted to emphasize that they were glasses, so I actually had to look up a couple images of how people draw glasses and the coloring on it, which was pretty interesting. I got away with it, so it works. There's the highlight. It's just those little glints that, like, usually they're in comical drawings. I thought it'd be a pretty amazing touch if I did that to this realistic piece. And I think it paid off. It was the first time I ever did that, and I wouldn't mind doing it again. Yeah. this was a super fun experience and I look forward to doing it again. Thanks, fam.